You're listening to the Tigers Den podcast. New episodes dropping every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Available to stream across all platforms. Also, be sure to check out Play Callers. New episodes dropping every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Available to stream across all platforms.
Hello and welcome to the Tigers Den, episode 11. It's so amazing that all three of us can go to separate parts of the state and country and still be able to record this episode for y'all. We've all had an amazing weekend and hope you as listeners have as well. Let's get right into the weekend rundown with your boy, Reese Kinder. Take him away.
This is the weekend rundown.
How's it going? Hope y'all had a good weekend. We had some big games this weekend. Some upsets with some smaller teams, some injuries, notable injuries. And, I'm going to get straight into it. Georgia and Tennessee in Knoxville. Tennessee opens the game with a touchdown. I was at the Auburn game, and all the Auburn fans were cheering for Tennessee after they scored that touchdown. But, Georgia just ran them over. And, last week, my mistake, I said Carson Beck was overrated. Sorry, Carson.
There you go.
I made a big mistake there. You're not overrated. Your team definitely deserves to be number one after that win. And, 38-10, big win for the Bulldogs. And then Washington escapes again against Oregon State.
I watched that entire game. I was rooting for Oregon State so much.
Hate Washington, bro.
I know. It's like Washington.
If DJ Uiagalelei could throw a slant, they would have had a chance.
Uiagalelei.
Sorry, yeah.
Put it in Google Translate real quick. That was a big game this weekend as well. And then Missouri and Florida came down to the wire, but Florida continues to lose. I don't know if they'll win next week against Florida State. We'll see. Jordan Travis is definitely not playing.
Bro.
If anybody saw that injury, that was gruesome.
Yeah.
But another game that was a notable game on the schedule, on the slate for Saturday was Louisville and Miami, which turned out to be a close game. And now we do have the ACC championship game set. It's Louisville and Florida State. Should be a good ACC championship game. Depends on who's quarterbacking Florida State. But
dude, Reese, who do you think's gonna quarterback Florida State? Who do you think's gonna be the quarterback for Florida State?
Not gonna be Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Here's the tough part.
Bro can't walk, and Reese is like, he still has a chance to come back.
Well, no, the only reason I'm saying that is because there's the Ole Miss quarterback a few years ago in the Egg Bowl did the same thing, and then he came back like 3 weeks later and played in their bowl game.
Here's the thing. Reese isn't entirely wrong because I talked to my dad about it, and my dad said he saw it a couple of times when he played football. It looked like he just dislocated it. It didn't look like it actually broke or anything. They haven't officially said what it was, but it looks like it was just dislocated. Still bad,
Yeah, well,
I don't think he'll return by the ACC championship in 2 weeks, but
no, that's the thing. Like I was saying, because the Egg Bowl a few years ago, like in 2018.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that dude, he did the same.
I think it was like Jordan Ta'amu or whatever his name was.
Yeah, he ended up doing the same thing, and then he came back 3 weeks later and played in the bowl game for them. So
here's the thing about Louisville, though. Louisville is I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. Louisville is going to beat Kentucky barely, and then they're going to barely beat Florida State because they don't have Jordan Travis in, and then Louisville is going to make the college football playoff and then get TCU'd. I'm telling you,
they're not going to make the college football playoff if they win.
No way.
If they win out, they have to make the college football playoff.
But
no way they don't.
Yeah, but there's still.
So you're saying Louisville makes it over Oregon, Washington, Texas, Alabama,
Georgia,
Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia?
Okay, Georgia wins out. They make it. I wish we should just talk about CFP, predictions, but we'll talk about that next week after the last week of football. But yeah. Georgia makes it after winning out. Ohio State or Michigan makes it after winning out. Oregon makes it after winning the Pac-12 championship. If Texas gets upset, which could definitely happen. Texas Tech isn't a bad team. They're no pushover.
But is Quinn Ewers supposed to come back anytime soon?
I have no idea. I can look it up right now, but
that's all I'm saying. Played.
What?
Oh, never mind.
No,
he didn't play. He didn't play.
But I don't see anything right now. No, he did play.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
then
he did play.
Texas just sucks. So,
But they could lose to like Kansas State like in the Big 12 championship, you know, like and something like that could happen where they got to take Louisville because they're a one-loss champ,
yeah,
you know. So
yeah. And
but
then moving forward, Utah and Arizona, I thought was going to be a good game, but Arizona just ran over Utah.
hey,
Like,
how about Arizona? I mean, they how many games in a row that they won? I mean,
I think is it 5? Might be 5 or 6.
yeah, they have like the most ranked wins like in their program history. I saw something like that.
There's a
So,
possibility if they can get the win next week against Arizona State in the rivalry game that they'll end the season at 9-3 and possibly make a good bowl
They're
game
going to
this
be
year.
Arizona State, Reese. Just
yeah,
trust.
It's a rivalry,
yeah.
buddy. You
If
never know.
if Oregon State upsets Oregon
Buddy,
too,
Alabama
Arizona
Auburn's a
makes the
rivalry, and
Pac-12
Alabama's going to
championship.
win by 50.
Yep. Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Might
Auburn,
just
New
sell my
Mexico
ticket.
State.
I might sell my ticket, and just like not go because
Yeah.
I kind of don't like Auburn at the moment. Anyway, moving forward from that trash team. Anyway, Clemson and North Carolina was a good game. Another storm the field. Let's do that. Let's do that every season.
Yeah.
Like Taylor said, they do it every game. They did it against some nobody school. And then Kansas State and Kansas, we talked about that game last week, and it turned out to be a good game.
Kansas State winning again.
Yeah, that's another win and a second straight loss for
My team
Kansas.
huddles have never been wrong. My team huddles have never been wrong this year, just so y'all know.
Yeah, Kansas State should win out and then possibly upset Texas in the Big 12 championship.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. They still need some stuff to happen to make it. Because they did lose to Oklahoma State, so if Oklahoma State wins out, they're behind Oklahoma State. So, but it's a lot of stuff. I'm looking at it right now because there's a 3-way tie between them, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. Kansas State didn't actually play Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma State, they obviously beat them head-to-head. But, I mean, who knows? We'll see it next week, and then next episode we'll obviously go in-depth into who we think's going to win conference championships and college football playoff. So
Yeah, and then this weekend we're starting with some of the tournaments, little conference or like their little bracket tournaments with Auburn playing in New York. Tuesday we had the State Farm Classic, which turned out to be some good games. Like
really
Duke and Michigan State was very close, and Hunter Dickinson and Kansas won against Kentucky. That game was actually I watched a few minutes of that game, and that game was actually a pretty good game. Kentucky was up with about 14 minutes to go, and Hunter Dickinson just turned it on and ended up having 27 points and 21 rebounds.
Insane.
Yeah, insane numbers there. Those are NBA numbers. Maybe those are like he could be one of the highest picks in the draft. Maybe the number 1 pick next year.
Awesome.
Who knows? We'll see. And then Marquette and Illinois played on Tuesday as well. That game was good down to the wire as well.
Yeah.
It was 71-64. Marquette, I don't know. They might make it as far. Yeah, they might make it as far as they did last year in the tournament or further.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, I have them. We'll discuss more about a lot of college basketball teams, specifically Marquette, later. At least in my rankings. So.
Yeah.
Shut up, bro. Shut up.
Yeah, and then we had an upset this weekend on Friday, with Arkansas and UNC Greensboro. I wanted to highlight that game because Arkansas. We heard about Arkansas being so good this year, and they did the same thing last year.
So mid.
Lost to Hofstra in the first game of the season, or
not? Bro, no way.
Game. It was the first game of the season actually last year
in college basketball. Yeah. Arkansas
it.
swears they're good in every sport, and then they're absolutely mid. It's hilarious.
But we did see it last year, too. Remember, Arkansas lost to Hofstra and ended up coming back and winning and making...
And how far did they make it?
I think it had to have been Sweet 16.
Wait, I thought they lost to UNC Greensboro.
Yeah, this year. Last year
they lost this year, but last year was Hofstra.
Yeah, so it's similar. Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah, it was about the same tier loss, except Hofstra last year was a little better, I think, than UNC Greensboro will be.
Mid. Arkansas's mid.
Yep, just that's the whole point. Arkansas is mid.
And then freaking
And
college
then-
game day went to James Madison, and then James Madison lost.
That's so sad. Like,
yeah, bro.
no, it's funny how they were.
That was the
blaming
biggest waste of a show ever.
No, it's funny how they were blaming the NCAA, and now the NCAA is like probably laughing their ass off. They're like,
Yeah.
they're like,
No.
"Haha."
What's more hilarious is the game came down to like a bang call, and it was obviously that it was a touchdown. But like James Madison fans were whining, "Oh, the NCAA is against us. You know that was a fumble. You know." And so yeah, NCAA sitting back.
NCAA got they're probably laughing now because that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And like Taylor said, that was a waste of a show. I mean, I'm glad 26,000 people showed up, but for nothing. Like,
Yeah,
it was pointless. And then, last week we also highlighted, I'm going to get to NFL now, and then turn it over to Max or Taylor.
Max Bisbin.
MVP.
Some of the good games today on the 12 p.m. slate was Steelers and Browns was supposed to be good because both teams were 6-3, and the Browns ended up coming out on top, which was kind of surprising to me because without Deshaun Watson, I didn't really see them getting another win.
Can we be honest? Kenny Pickett might be the worst quarterback in the NFL.
George Pickens is right.
Kenny Pickett is so bad. 15 for 28, 106 yards. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Worse than Zach Wilson today.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, Zach Wilson got benched.
That's what I'm saying. Zach Wilson got benched. Kenny Pickett doesn't get benched because they literally don't have another quarterback. They have Mason Rudolph as their backup.
Like,
yeah, we remember what happened.
Did the Jets have Mike White or someone?
No, Mike White's with the Dolphins.
Who did the Jets have?
I don't know.
Joe Flacco.
No, he's a free agent.
No, he's not anymore. The Browns picked him up off the practice squad.
Although he still is. It's so bad. It's so bad. Tim, you want to hear who the Jets' backup is? Tim Boyle.
Bro, who is that?
A 29-year-old out of Eastern Kentucky.
He's equivalent to a milk carton.
It's his 5th season. So.
Hey, at least he gets paid.
Today he had a QBR of 50.2 because he had 33 pass yards, no TDs, and a 50% completion percentage.
Bro,
and then CJ Stroud is a fraud.
Joe Flacco's about to be the first quarterback that's like 47 to win the Super Bowl. He's going to the Super Bowl. No, and then really today the only other good game was, Seahawks and Rams came down to the wire. The Seahawks ended up missing the game-winning field goal. Jason Myers missed it, and puts the Seahawks at 6-4, possibly out of playoff contention right now because all these other teams are winning, and especially. This week, I haven't really seen a good NFL slate yet, and I'm excited for Monday's game. But, the Thanksgiving games are always good, so I can't wait to see those games on Thursday. But, Max, you can take it away now.
Who is this week's MMVP?
All right, so now I'm going to get to my MMVP, and I know Taylor's
Zion Williamson!
Taylor, you're actually going to love this one. It's the guy that Taylor went across the country to go see. The number 10 senior quarterback for the number 6 Oregon Ducks.
Drew Sanders.
Bo Nix is today's MMVP. And the reason why is because, he's top 5 in every single quarterback statistic, which is insane. He has, to break it down for y'all, 3,539 passing yards this year, which is 3rd among all QBs who have played 11 games or fewer. And then he has 35 passing touchdowns, which is 2nd in the country behind Jaden Daniels. He also only has 2 interceptions, which is fewest among all QBs with at least 325 passing attempts. He also has an average QBR of 89.8, which is 3rd in the country. He also has an average passer rating of 191.3, which is 2nd in the country. He has only been sacked 5 times, which is tied for the fewest among QBs with at least 230 pass attempts. He also has a 78.1% completion percentage, 1st in the country. He has 9.8 yards per completion, second among all QBs with at least 200 completions. And he's the obvious front runner for the Heisman race. I mean, you look at what he did this weekend against Arizona State. He had a QBR of 268.1. He had a completion percentage of 82.8. He had
Are you dying in
404
the
pass
background,
yards,
buddy?
and he had 6 passing touchdowns, all in the first half. All in the first half. So, Bo Nix, like I said, as much as I hate to admit it, because I know Taylor is just, jumping for joy right now, he's the obvious front runner for the Heisman race. And if you told me that the QB for Auburn 2 years ago would be doing this, I would have called you crazy. But obviously, it has proven me very wrong. What do y'all think about Bo's electric campaign so far this season?
Hey, let me take this one.
Yep,
So,
I felt it was coming.
So
Yep.
I didn't actually go to Phoenix, Arizona for Bo Nix. I'm actually thinking about going to Arizona State for college. I'm probably going to go there. I'm probably going to submit my enrollment deposit soon. But they were playing the Ducks. I'm a Ducks fan. I have been for a while now. But Bo going there, I'm friends with his sister, acquaintances with his family and everything. Living pretty close to us. Bo, great guy, super nice, super down to earth. I was at the game, just saying at the game it was like all Oregon fans. And I went down to the first row. There were kids everywhere, like asking for autographs. Bo signed all of them. He high fives everyone. He gets pictures with everyone. Super down to earth guy, and he deserves everything that's coming to him. Like the stats that Max said, the Heisman, everything. I mean, just an overall great guy, and he deserves really everything.
Yeah, I think Bo, when he was here, I think the problem was the coaching at Auburn was kind of not the best at the time, and I think Dan Lanning's done a really good job with Bo Nix. Possibly, I know a lot of the people, and especially the draft combine people, don't see him as a top quarterback, but definitely have to look out for him as this season's coming to an end. And there's a possibility if they make it in the college football playoff, you could see a I'm not saying they could win the national championship, but they could make it to the national championship game. We could see.
I'm just gonna say this about Oregon fans too, bro. They are they are die hard. Like if you look up directions from Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon, to Tempe, Arizona, where the game was, it is like 14 hours, and the whole stadium was just Oregon fans. That's all. Oregon fans deserve everything. Losing the national championship in 2010, getting heartbreaking losses every single year. Coming super close, coming in highly ranked, and then making a New Year's Six bowl or just a regular bowl game like last year. I mean, they deserve to make the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, and all I'm going to say to end this segment off is, Bo Nix he's proven it, this season, and he's going to get another chance to prove it next week when they face Oregon State. And then he'll obviously get the chance 2 weeks from now, if they win that game against Oregon State, to rematch against Washington and hopefully punch their ticket to the college football playoff. But shout out Bo Nix. All Auburn fans deserve to give him his flowers and give him a huge apology because I mean, honestly, it was the toxic Auburn fans that really ran him out of Auburn. I mean, I truly don't believe that he would have left if it weren't for the fans. And he said it, actually, I remember. And at Oregon, he said he just feels so much more free, so much pressure let off of him. And shout out, Dan Lanning. I mean, Dan Lanning is, great head coach, and he's a guy who's helped him through his journey at Oregon. And so, I mean, shout out Bo Nix.
Dan Lanning is a great guy as well.
What'd you say?
Dan Lanning is also a great guy. He was also one of those people that came over to all the kids. I got a video of him coming over to the Oregon fans, thanking them and everything for traveling. I mean, really, I'm a little biased because I'm an Oregon fan. But really, everyone on Oregon, I really enjoyed watching y'all play. Y'all were super nice to me. Being from Auburn, Alabama, it's kind of rare to meet players and everything because if you think about it, Auburn goes into their locker room through the student section. Yeah. So all the students really get the interactions and stuff. But here, we were right by where Oregon ran out, so they were just super nice to me. I'm gonna stop talking now. I could go on and on, but yeah, go Ducks.
Nah, it's not a problem. I mean, yeah, I know you're passionate about, Oregon and Bo Nix, and I'm just gonna say I'm sorry, Bo, for all the times I've doubted you throughout the years. I might have made a couple of comments on social media when you played at Auburn, but now you are proving me wrong, and we'll see what you can do in the college football playoff coming up after you whoop Oregon State, and then you beat Washington in 2 weeks. But now I'm going to hand it over to Taylor for the opposite of the segment we just did, Taylor's Trash Can. Taylor, take it away.
Straight from the garbage disposal, this is Taylor's Trash Can.
So speaking about Bo Nix, he's on the Ducks of Oregon right now. Mighty Oregon, all the great fans, all the great people. Tez Johnson, Troy Franklin, the 2 receivers, Bucky Irving. But the team that he left, right down Glen Avenue, hosted a 25.5-point underdog team from New Mexico. New Mexico, I flew over it on my flight to Phoenix. New Mexico, there's absolutely nothing to do but desert. And they're not really known for anything, but especially not college football. They got the New Mexico Lobos, New Mexico State Aggies. But this Aggie team has lost 27 straight meetings against SEC teams, and they've never gotten a win against one. 2 years ago, Auburn University reached out to New Mexico State and paid this team $1.7 million to play at Jordan-Hare Stadium to try to publicize them, to try to be nice, get New Mexico State the publicity they need to keep moving up in the ranks. But this Aggie team took that money, and they still won the dang game. I just want to say Hugh Freeze is one of the worst coaches we have ever seen in SEC history for this loss. Not only did New Mexico State win the game, they had 404 total yards and 23 first downs against our defense. This is the same Auburn defense that absolutely dominated KJ Jefferson and the overly rated preseason Arkansas offense that everyone was talking really good about, and almost beat the Georgia Bulldogs, the number 1 team. This Auburn team has no talent except for Eugene Asante and Jalen Simpson on the defensive side, and will plummet against Alabama, go to some trash bowl game, and probably lose that.
To Nebraska.
If you can only get 12 first downs and 21 minutes of possession time, that means your offense is absolutely terrible. But we can talk all bad about Auburn, but shout out Diego Pavia, who dominated for the Aggies with 3 touchdowns as a 2-star recruit from a junior college. And what's worse is Hugh Freeze did the same thing last year at Liberty and lost to New Mexico State as a heavy favorite. Mm-hmm. Fire Hugh Freeze, get rid of everything in Auburn, just completely restart. And I could go on and on and on about how terrible this loss is for the entire University of Auburn, the entire football program, all the recruits in the crowd, including Cam Coleman from Central.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are y'all's thoughts about this? And what is Auburn? What do they have to do to get ready for Alabama?
So, as an Auburn fan, you got to, speak on your Oregon stuff, and Oregon's doing great. I'm the polar opposite. I'm an Auburn fan, and my team is doing terrible right now. And it's because of Hugh Freeze. So that statistic that you brought up, I'm glad that you brought up that statistic. But not only did he do this last year, but that was the last time it was done by any team. The last time a 21-point underdog won by 21 points was last year when New Mexico State came and played Liberty, and they beat them by 21 points. So this is nothing new for Hugh Freeze. And I thought it was a sign when Liberty finished, I think it was like 8-5 last year under Hugh Freeze. They're 11-0 right now. They're 11-0. They're the only group of 5 team that's undefeated after, the whole James Madison, bonanza.
Let's go make a bowl game.
But, Hugh Freeze, I thought the hire was okay, but, obviously he has a troubled past, and I honestly wouldn't mind if, he went ahead and called up the you-know-whats, if you know the story, and just got kicked out of Auburn right now. Because if any of y'all saw my story, follow me on Instagram, I posted Fire Hugh Freeze and hashtag Bring Back Harsin. I'm not gonna lie, I was being a little bit, I was a little emotional at the time I posted it. I think Brian Harsin's a terrible coach as well, but I think that this loss was just horrible. I mean, it encapsulates all the fears of Auburn for these last couple of years. And you highlighted some stats, Taylor. I want to highlight some more stats. This is an Auburn team, and I sent you all this text as well. They say that, oh, well, Peyton Thorne's not great, but we have a good rushing attack. Auburn had 65 rushing yards the entire game, averaged 2.5 yards a carry. This New Mexico State team ran for 213 yards, 5.8 yards a carry, more yards than they passed for, which they also passed for 201. I mean, this was pathetic. And you think about, because I was in, Taylor, you were in Arizona. You weren't watching the game. I was in Mobile.
I was checking it on my phone, and I turned. I want to tell this story real quick. I was sitting, in the Oregon section and everything. I was on my phone. I turned around. I said, "This is why I live in Auburn, but I don't cheer for Auburn in football because it is absolutely pathetic."
Yes. I mean, you think about, but you would think my thought in my mind when I first saw the score was, okay, maybe we've done some turnovers. Maybe we're doing terrible on the penalty side of things, and that's causing us to lose the game, whatever. No, you look at this because the main two things that you always say when there's a big upset brewing, you say the two keys are going into the game is you need to win the turnover battle and you need to win the penalty battle. Turnovers. Neither team had one. So tied in the turnover battle. Also, penalties, exact same. 9 penalties for both teams for 75 yards. So they just straight up came in, and I'm going to shout out, Crane & Co. They're one of the sports podcasts I listen to as well. I mean, they just came in, and they were the better team. They doubled us in time of possession. I mean, this New Mexico State team, yes, they're 9-3, but they lost to UMass, man. Auburn beat UMass 63-14 at the start of the year. So what does that mean? Have we gotten worse? No, and I don't want to take this as an excuse. Oh, they were looking ahead to Bama. Yeah, of course they were. They were playing a team that they paid $1.8 million to come in and play. But, that's no excuse to lose to a New Mexico State team that has been – it's not even like they have a great defense. I mean, they held us to 10 points. I mean – they allowed a Western Illinois team, a Division II school, to score 21 on them. So, I mean, if you're an Auburn fan right now and, you've been thinking about jumping ship, now's the time. I mean, this Auburn team is pathetic. Wake me up when Hugh Freeze is gone and when we have, possibly Cam Coleman. Probably not after that game, though. Perry Thompson's probably going to decommit. Bryce Kane had a great interview with you. I wouldn't blame you if you decommitted as well. I mean, just as an Auburn fan all my life, I mean, that was just horrible. Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was at the game, and, it was much worse there. Like, the section I was sitting in, everybody was booing Hugh Freeze. People actually were throwing stuff on the field.
Yeah, I saw a picture of a guy doing like the Jets fan thing where he held up the middle finger to the camera, which I don't blame him. I would too.
I mean, you're telling me that our O-line cannot move a defensive lineman that probably had 0 Division I offers before New Mexico State even decided to give him an offer. And this is ridiculous. I think our team just came in here and was like, oh, yeah, we can beat these guys. We don't even need to practice. We don't need to prepare. We'll just beat them 50-0. No, that's not the case because New Mexico State has been scoring a lot of points the past few weeks, and you see what happened. We ended up losing to them, and this is ridiculous. We're probably going to get beat 66-0 in the Iron Bowl, so best rivalry in college football? No. Michigan and Ohio State's ahead of us. Probably Vanderbilt and Tennessee will be ahead of us by the time that happens. So,
and last thing I would like to say, it's not like there was no one there to see this game as well. The capacity of Jordan Hare Stadium
was full!
It was full. It was more than full.
Sold out!
The capacity of Jordan Hare Stadium
and
is
Hugh Freeze had the audacity
fans.
to blame it on Auburn's fans. He had the audacity to blame Auburn for not cheering and showing up. It was full!
There were 88,000 people there for an 87,500 capacity stadium. What the heck? The entire city of Auburn, I mean, This is why I went out of town and I went to South Alabama. Let's be honest. South Alabama, yeah, they're a group of 5 school and whatever, but they would probably beat Auburn. I'm sorry, but I'm just so upset. And this is also why I'm not applying to Auburn. So, sorry,
All right, well, enough roasting Auburn. We're going to move on. And we're going to move on.
Bro, I told you
to
I would rant.
Reese,
I told you.
or excuse me, we're going to move on to Max with top 10. A little bit different today.
Who's first, who's last, and who's in between? This is Top 10.
Yeah, so we're switching it up. I'm going to do top 10. Reese is going to do prize picks later. And we're going to have 3 prompts like last week. The first one's going to be top 5, actually. And then the last 2 are going to be top 10. And we're going to start off with our NFL MVP candidates midway through the season, about a little over midway through the season. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we're actually going to go from 5 to 1. So, we've been starting off with number 1 and then counting down to 5 or to 10. We're going to start off with 5, so it's kind of a reveal to who our number 1 is. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with mine. And I'm not going to lie, the QB play this year has not impressed me. Not one bit. I think that it's been very
Joshua Dobbs, number 1.
Yeah, exactly. So, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. If it was for the last 2 games, it might be Joshua Dobbs. But number 5, coming in at number 5 for the NFL MVP candidates midway through the season, a little over midway for me, is TJ Watt for the Steelers, the linebacker for the Steelers / defensive end. He has been all over the field this year. 22 solo tackles, 10.5 sacks, including 1 today against the Browns. Also 2 forced fumbles and an interception. TJ Watt taking the mantle of his brother as one of the most feared defensive players in the league. And honestly, JJ even said it during one of the CBS halftime shows I was watching. He said he thinks that TJ will be better by the end of his career than, JJ was. So I got TJ Watt at number 5. Just heck of a player. And then number 4, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. And it's actually in basically the same position. These 2 guys, you can switch them in and out. I saw an article, and I'm looking at it right now, where it says, forget Defensive Player of the Year. Should TJ Watt and my number 4 MVP candidate, Myles Garrett, be in the MVP conversation? I think he should. 2 sacks today against the Browns, 20 solo tackles, 11 sacks on the year, 4 forced fumbles, all recovered as well. Myles Garrett has just been insane. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2017 for a reason. This guy, 6'4", 272 pounds, and he's still only 27. That's not too up in the years. TJ is 29. So, but Myles, obviously he's been known in the past kind of as like a dirty player. There was a joke today where he picked up a Steelers helmet and they said, oh, well, now he's just going to hand it to him this time because, a few years ago, Mason Rudolph got bludgeoned in the side of the head by a helmet swung by Myles Garrett. But dirty player or not, Myles Garrett deserves to be in the MVP conversation this year. And now for my number 3 spot for MVP, once again, still not a QB because the QB play, like I said, has not impressed me. I'm going to go to the running back position for Christian McCaffrey out of San Francisco. San Francisco 49ers running back. He has really a lot of people doubting him coming into the season, because of the way he busted basically at Carolina just because of injuries. But this year he has proven that he is that guy. There's a reason that he was this phenomenon coming out of Stanford. Basically a running back / wide receiver. This year so far he's had 825 rush yards, the most in the NFL. Also 9 rushing touchdowns. And then receiving end, he has 364 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Most total touchdowns out of basically any player right now. I think the only person leading him is the next guy I have. But, today against Tampa Bay wasn't his greatest performance. 78 yards on the ground, 25 yards receiving, and then a receiving touchdown. But, Christian McCaffrey can do it all. And also, the San Francisco 49ers are now back in probably the driver's seat in the NFC, or at least close to it. And now, for my number 2 pick, and I know Taylor's going to like this one. He's going to agree with this one. I got Tyreek Hill out of Miami, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver out of West Alabama College. I mean, he's 29 years old, 5'10", 191 pounds, leads the entire NFL in all-purpose yards, 1,222 yards on just 79 receptions. He's averaging 15 and a half yards per catch, 9 touchdowns, 9 receiving touchdowns. And you look at today, 10 receptions for 146 yards and a touchdown against the Raiders. I mean, he's just been so consistent. That's been kind of the question with Tyreek Hill in the past couple of years is, he can go crazy for one game, and then next game he can come back and drop like 30 receiving yards and possibly a touchdown. No, this year he's been back to back to back to back to back, and he's on pace to break the receiving yards record set by Calvin Johnson Jr., Megatron, a couple years ago of about like 1,900 receiving yards in the season. I mean, he could easily break that record. So Tyreek Hill at number 2. And then number 1, I had to put a QB because similar to college football, this has kind of been a QB award in recent seasons. And I got to go with the guy that Taylor shouted out a couple weeks ago, as he said he was a dark horse at the time. I think he's the front runner right now. Give me Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens quarterback.
Dude, Max, you are completely missing right now. You are completely missing right now.
Jalen Hurts has 8 interceptions on the year and played terrible against the Jets. I don't want to hear it. Lamar Jackson has 5 interceptions on the year. One of his lowest numbers of his career.
Throw the ball.
He has 2,441 passing yards, which is actually 7th in the league right now. And then he also, you obviously know, the rushing game. 535 rush yards, 5.3 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns on the ground, also 12 touchdowns through the air. I mean, Lamar Jackson, you look at how he played against the Bengals, 264 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, also a rushing touchdown. I mean, Lamar Jackson can do it all. He's my number 1. And now give me y'all's top 5 for NFL.
All right, I'm gonna let Reese go last this time. I'm going to go second. Number 5, TJ Watt. I agree with Max here. You don't really put defensive players usually on this list. I think TJ Watt is honestly the best defensive player over Myles Garrett, in my opinion. TJ Watt, 22 solo tackles, 10.5 sacks, carrying this Steelers team to the record that they've gotten at 6-4. I mean, literally carrying, because the Steelers offense doesn't do anything. Carrying that defense. Number 4, I also agree with you. Christian McCaffrey, all over the field for the 49ers. You can talk about Brock Purdy's numbers, but half of that is because of Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. Absolutely amazing player. I remember him on the Panthers when we drafted him. I was super excited about him, but, we just had to trade him and tank even more than we already have. But besides that, 825 yards, 9 touchdowns. And I don't even want to know his receiving numbers because they're probably pretty dang good. But, yeah, give me Christian McCaffrey at the 4 spot. Number 3, I got to go with the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins. Also carrying that Dolphins team. You got that Dolphins team is absolutely insane. I put Tyreek Hill at 3 because I got 2 people that are on better teams. That's usually what happens with NFL MVP. It's a QB award on the QBs on good teams that play in tough environments, play for the Super Bowl. But give me Tyreek Hill at 3. Absolutely amazing, and he's on my fantasy team. So, got to do that. Number 2, I have someone that Max did not say. I got Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, you can't look at how good the Eagles are and tell me that Jalen Hurts doesn't have something to do with that. And that's what the NFL MVP odds are going to look at. 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 66.5 QBR, and 2,347 passing yards. I've always been a fan of Jalen Hurts, since the whole Tua thing at Alabama, coming into the league under Carson Wentz, but he finally got his chance, and he's proven why he was a pick and why the Eagles are at 8-1 right now, looking to play Kansas City in Arrowhead. And then number 1, I have someone that Max did not say. I have the Taylor Swift phenomenon. I have Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes again. The absolute greatest quarterback of this century. 2,442 yards, 17 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, 72.8 QBR. The first round pick in 2017 out of Texas Tech. I mean, with the Chiefs as publicized as they are, as good as they are, he has to be in the top 5, and he's looking to win it for, I think this would be the second or third time in his career. So give me Patrick
Third.
Mahomes at the
Yeah,
1.
third.
Reese,
Third.
give me your top 5.
Here we
All right,
go. What
my
I've been
top
waiting.
5. I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna go different from y'all at 5, but it's still gonna be on the defensive side. I'm gonna go Myles Garrett over T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett's just been doing amazing this year.
Good
Saw
pick.
it today against the Steelers. He did great. So did TJ, but I'm gonna have to go Miles over TJ. And then on the 3 and 4, I'm gonna have to go with both of y'all with CMC and the Cheetah. It was kind of hard to pick between CMC and the Cheetah. You know, I
Bro's just
thought
copying
CMC
our list.
Buddy, I knew he was gonna say that. Knew he was gonna say that. Didn't copy his list. Definitely didn't. And then my number 2, I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson, the guy that Max picked at 1. I'm gonna have to go with Lamar. You know,
Good
he's
pick. Good pick.
he's the guy that's played exceptionally well this year. You know, looks like he doesn't. The only receiver he's gonna have around him now, only 2 receivers, is just Odell and Zay Flowers now, with Mark Andrews being out at tight end spot. So we'll see how he works with that. And then my number 1 is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is my number 1.
Where's Patty? Where's
Nowhere!
Patty
Because
is not that good this
Sucks.
year. He's
Whoa,
good,
whoa,
but he's
he
not
has
that
the
good
best
this
stats
year.
out of any quarterback.
He does 8 interceptions. 8.
Lamar Jackson doesn't throw the ball.
Lamar literally has the 7th most in the league. He has more. What? All right. Now, let's get enough of today's
Let's get
NFL.
Rizzy in here.
Jesus.
Let's hear Reese's top 10 NFL players of all time with Travis Kelce at the 3.
He's going to say Nikola Jokic, I swear.
Bruh.
All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started.
Bro's
before
going to
Reese-
leave the call again.
Reese, you still there?
Yes.
Just making sure. I had to make sure. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with enough of today's NFL. Let's go ahead and get started with the best NFL players of all time, the top 10. I'm so excited to hear Reese's. I'm going to say mine, but the moment we've all been waiting for is to hear Reese's top 10. But let me get through mine first. I'm going to go ahead and start. It's obvious, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the best NFL player
It's
of
not
all
that
time.
obvious.
You look at, okay, you can say Jerry Rice because Jerry Rice is my 2. It's between them 2. They're the top 2
I have
players
someone
of all
else.
time. Okay, well, that flabbergasted me. I'm excited to – you should keep listening to hear what Taylor's going to say as his number 1. But Tom Brady, I mean, you just look at all the rings. I mean,
Probably Dion.
the best QB of all time, the best player of all time, and playing 22 years in the NFL is also just a feat that won't be matched anytime soon. So give me Tom Brady at number 1. Number 2, I got Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice,
Ooh.
I mean, he belongs on the Mount Rushmore, basically any NFL all-time great players list. I mean, he is a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Niners, and he also had his 8th career Super Bowl touchdown with the Raiders at age 40. Not a lot of people know that, but Rice is just one of the best players of all time, and he's similar to Michael Jordan, as in he was known for his hard work ethic. I mean, Rice, there was never a time when you were watching Jerry Rice play, according to my dad, because I actually didn't watch him, but there was never a time you saw Jerry Rice play and he wouldn't run his route at full speed. I mean, 22,895 receiving yards is over 5,000 yards more than the second closest wideout, which is Larry Fitzgerald. So give me Jerry Rice, 19-year career, one of the greats. And next I have Peyton Manning, actually. I have Peyton Manning at number 5. If Brady didn't exist, Peyton Manning would be the best QB, best player of all time. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl he won with the Broncos, and then he also has 5 league MVPs. I mean, and he's also won Super Bowls. He's the first ever starting quarterback to win Super Bowls with 2 different teams. So, I mean, I got Peyton Manning at number 3. And then number 4, I got Walter Sweetness Payton. Walter Payton, I mean, he was so good that he honestly is the greatest running back in NFL history. Hey, y'all can say bruh, but I was talking
about Taylor saying bruh. Taylor's like bruh.
I understand Walter Payton was plagued by injuries and he only had a 12-year career, but in that 12-year span, I mean, he had over 2,000 all-purpose yards in 1 year and helped lead the Bears single-handedly to a Super Bowl championship. And so I got Walter Payton at number 4. And then number 5, I got LT Lawrence Taylor, the scariest guy that you could ever face.
Bruh.
And I know the former QB for, I forget his name off the top of my head, Joe Theismann, for Washington Redskins would agree with me. He's the one of the scariest guys on the other side of the field to play against. I mean, he was so dominant. And, I mean, watching that beginning to the blind side, just really inspired me. And, I was like, that guy is a beast. And Lawrence Taylor, I mean, NFL Defensive Player of the Year honors, Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. I mean, I could go on and on. But Taylor's ferocious pass rush really revolutionized the game and really inspired players like TJ Watt and Micah Parsons of today's. Look at their interviews. They'll talk about him all the time. And next, I got number 6, I got Jim Brown, the former Cleveland Browns running back in 1957. He's up there with the greats like, Bill Russell, Babe Ruth, those players that are like you hear in legend, basically because they played so long ago. But he was one of the best. He's a Hall of Famer. A Hall of Famer, excuse me.
Hall of Famer.
Max mentioned highlights. Clip it.
Bruh. Brown led the NFL in rushing yards 8 times, and he also carried the Browns to their last league title in 1964. The Browns haven't been anywhere close to being the best in the league since. I mean, his career yards per game average was 104.3, which remains the highest total of any player in NFL history. Jim Brown at 6. Number 7, I have a guy that I actually met back when I went to St. Lucia in the Caribbean for spring break one year. I met him in a Billabong store. Joe Montana, the QB for the 49ers.
Billabong store's crazy.
I mean, before Tom Brady before Tom Brady came along, Cool Joe Montana was the top quarterback. He was the man. The first 3-time Super Bowl MVP ever in history. He led the 49ers to 4 Super Bowl wins in just the 80s. So 4 out of 10 years, I mean, the 49ers were on top of the league. Montana was brilliant, and he was known for being brilliant in big games. In all 4 of those Super Bowls, he had 0 interceptions. One of the most clutch players ever. Really fun to watch. Joe Montana at number 7. Number 8, I got Barry Sanders. I mean, one of the most exciting players to watch on the field. Also, only played 9 years, but I mean, Barry Sanders, one of the best players of all time. Detroit Lions fans. Bro, Detroit Lions fans, I mean, everybody knows who he is. I mean, if you're a Detroit fan, Barry Sanders was one of the best players to play in the league. He was a wizard with the football. I mean, and if you watch his highlights, I mean, he's one of those first guys that's like, you watch his highlights and you're like, wow, what am I watching?
Struggling to breathe?
Bro, I'm trying to make it through. Anyway, he has 15,259 career rushing yards in 10 seasons. That's phenomenal.
What is he laughing about? I can hear him like breathing back there. Like
I have
that
no
guy.
idea.
Yeah, I'm laughing at my number 1 because I got the best number 1 ever.
It's gonna be Joe Montana.
It's gonna be Bo Jackson probably.
I know it is.
Number 6, at number 9, I got the freak himself, Randy Moss. I mean, you got Moss. He inspired an entire, catchphrase and catches. He burst onto the scene in his rookie campaign by catching 17 touchdowns in his first season in the regular season. Back when it was 16 games in the regular season. So Randy Moss, I mean, very impressive. Then he went to the Patriots, and I mean, he was part of that almost undefeated, completely perfect season for the Patriots until David Tyree helmet catch. We all know what happened, but Randy Moss, you got Moss. Give me Randy Moss at number 9. And then number 10, I got Emmitt Smith, the running back for the Cowboys, the number 1 in rushing yards, the rushing yards leader of all time. 18,355 career rushing yards and 164 career rushing touchdowns. I mean, he was insane. You look up Emmitt Smith highlights and look up his stats. I mean, he had a 1,000-yard season basically every year. I mean, he was one of the most consistent running backs, and he didn't get injured as much. Obviously, he played 14 seasons, played for the Cowboys as well as played for the Cardinals later on in his career. Give me Emmitt Smith at number 10. And now, Taylor, take it away with your top 10.
All right, so I disagree with you at number 1. At my number 1, I have 2015 Cam Newton. I mean, just absolute
Bruh.
That's
insane.
worse than mine.
What?
Carrying the Panthers to a
What?
15-1 season. He had, 3,837 yards for 35 touchdowns and only
Are
10
you saying Cam
picks.
Newton?
I
Cam Newton in 2015, one of the greatest,
No,
I would
no,
say
no,
the
no, no.
greatest player we have ever
Taylor.
seen. Number
Taylor.
2, give
I
me
don't think
Tom
you
Brady.
understood the
The
assignment.
6
It's
rings.
best players of all time. You're saying Cam Newton's number one of all time?
2015, Cam Newton is number 1 of all time.
We're not saying specific years, though, buddy. We're saying career.
Okay, Cam Newton, number 1 all time. I don't care. Number 2,
What?
Tom Brady.
What?
Number 2, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, very good player. I don't like
Sam
Tom Brady at
Darnold,
all.
number 2.
Bro, put Cam
Number
over
3,
Tom.
Let me finish my top 10.
Now you
Number
know how
3,
Reese feels.
Number 3 is Jerry Rice, greatest receiver of all time. And then number 3, Peyton Manning, just like Max. We had our, instead of 1, 2, and 3, minus 2, 3, 4. I got Brady, Rice, Manning, great players on the Mount Rushmore, along with Cam Newton.
Bruh.
Bro, he can't
Number
be
4,
serious.
I
He
got
can't be
Lawrence
serious.
Taylor, absolute nightmare coming off the edge. He can play a little zone coverage too. He can play in coverage. He can rush you. One of the greatest players of all time. Number 5, I got Sweetness, Walter Payton, just like Max said.
Bro.
Great running back, best running back of all time over Jim Brown, I would argue. Short career, got cut short with injuries and everything, but Walter Payton, dominant player. And then number 6, I have Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown,
what?
No way!
absolute
Domestic violence,
great
Brown!
receiver.
What's
going
on?
He was absolutely great when he was on the Steelers. One of the greatest, I would say the greatest receiver of his generation. His top season, he had 1,698 yards for 13 touchdowns. Absolutely insane numbers. He even rushed the ball a little bit. Number 7, Antonio Brown. Number 8, I have someone that Max didn't say. I got Ray Lewis, the middle linebacker nightmare that would come up and absolutely hit stick you into the ground, give you a concussion, and yes, Ray Lewis, great player, great hype man. I remember his intro in Madden 13.
Antonio Brown
He
would
had
do
me
the
to
same
run
thing.
through a wall. Hey, number 9, Patrick Mahomes. What a great player.
No way.
Patrick Mahomes, you
Where's
cannot tell
my
me that
top 10?
if you were a team while Patrick Mahomes was in the league, you could not tell me you wouldn't for him to be on your team at quarterback. Absolute amazing, dominant player out of
Taylor was
Texas
smoking on that
Tech.
plane.
I mean, look at his numbers every single year. Absolutely insane. His best year last year, 5,250 yards for 41 touchdowns. In 2018, he had a 50 touchdown season. He beat Brady in head-to-head sometimes, and he lost one time. But Patrick Mahomes, gimme at number 9. And then number 10, I got Megatron, Calvin Johnson. I would argue that Calvin Johnson in his short career was better than Randy Moss. Calvin Johnson, I mean, you cannot deny his dominance for the Detroit Lions. Carried that Detroit Lions team to any hope at any playoff game. His best season, 1,964 yards for 5 touchdowns, but he got a lot of yards. Wasn't really a touchdown threat, but his best touchdown season is 16. I mean, he single-handedly carried the Detroit Lions through the depressing days to a playoff spot where they lost to the Cowboys. That's my top 10. I'm going to go over it again. Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Peyton Manning, Lawrence Taylor, Walter Payton, Antonio Brown, Ray Lewis, Patrick Mahomes, and Calvin Johnson. Reese, give us your top 10.
I'm
You gotta be
sorry,
doing this
but
to Taylor
my NBA one last week might have been bad. Nicole Jokic, shout out. But this one might just top that. Like this one might just his might have been the worst one.
Yeah,
But
that
anyway,
was kind
let's
of
get to
wild.
mine. Okay, my number 1 has to be Tom Brady.
Yes.
Can't be freaking prime Cam Newton. Like 1 year, buddy.
He
Okay,
chose 1 year. 1 year Cam Newton.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with Peyton.
You
Manning.
cannot tell me that 2015 Cam Newton is not
That's
better
not what
than
I'm
Tom Brady.
saying. I'm saying you're saying that Cam Newton is the best player of all time.
Yes, he is.
He's not.
I'm gonna break my monitor. I
What
swear.
a bus.
Anyway, my number 2 is Peyton Manning.
Cool.
Number 3.
Wait,
is
what?
Jerry.
Over Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, buddy.
No, it's because like you said, Peyton Manning's won 5 MVPs, and also you kind of got to put a quarterback over a receiver for real. Like
Not really, but okay, keep going, keep cooking.
Jerry's 3, and then I'm gonna go with Walter Payton at 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Barry at 5. I'm gonna go with Barry Sanders at 5.
Over LT?
Yes.
Okay, buddy.
And then I'm gonna go with Lawrence Taylor at 6. And then Jim Brown at 7. I think Taylor left. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Randy Moss at 8. I'm gonna go with Joe Montana at 9, and then Ray Lewis at 10.
All right.
Buddy,
Well,
no explanation.
I mean, yeah, that's not a bad top 10. Actually, congratulations, Reese. You made up for last week. So
Yeah,
but,
Taylor's the new trash can for this week. So.
yeah, Taylor had me thinking it was Taylor's hottest take right there. But anyway, we're gonna move to our top 10 college basketball teams right now. We know it's early on in the season. We kind of forgot to do this before the season, but it's all right. We're doing it now. Kind of switching up from football over to the basketball scene. And I'm going to start us off with I actually said that I forgot to do the 10-1 thing last time. I'm going to do that again here, actually. And I'm going to start off with my number 10 team in college basketball right now, the Texas A&M Aggies.
Brother!
A real good team. They are.
Whoa!
Hey, Taylor, you admittedly don't
Whoa!
watch as much as me, to be
What the
fair.
fuck?
So,
Brother!
Wade Taylor the fourth. I witnessed it firsthand last year when I went to go see Auburn play, and Wade
Almost
Taylor
lost
the
to
fourth
SMU.
dominated. I'm going to go with Wade Taylor and the Texas A&M Aggies. They returned basically all of their starters: Tyrese
But what the
Rashford,
hell,
Wade
boy?
Taylor, Henry Coleman, and
I'm gonna break my monitor. I swear.
But this Texas A&M Aggies team's really good. They beat Ohio State. That's all I'm gonna say. And next, I'm gonna go at number 9. I'm gonna go with the Miami Hurricanes. This team is so good. They're 5-0. 5-0. Nigel Pack is the star.
Might as well put South Alabama up there.
Miami is 5-0.
What is this list?
They beat in Kansas State and Georgia. I mean, Nigel Pack, Wooga Poplar, and Matthew Cleveland. Matthew Cleveland, that transfer
Who
from
is that?
MSU. Norchad Omier.
Who is that?
This team also returns.
Who is
basically
Wooga
all their
Badogo Poplar?
players. So give me Miami at 9. Number 8, I got Houston. Houston 5-0. They're actually playing Dayton right now, and they're beating the crap out of them. That should be expected. They just won 69-55.
Save yourself there, son.
Houston is 6-0 right now, so give me the Cougars. LJ Cryer, the transfer from Baylor, averaging 15.4 points this year. Give me Houston. Number 7, I got the Purdue Boilermakers.
No freaking way. Where are they in the top 5?
That high? That's high?
This Purdue team, I just haven't seen it yet. I haven't been proven it yet. I mean, they haven't played anybody really that good. Yeah, they played Xavier and beat them by 12, but Xavier isn't that great this year. They don't return any of their starters. This Purdue team returns a lot of their starters. Zach Edey, obviously the main one. The Naismith Player of the Year last year. I mean, he's 7 foot, like 1,000. He's 20.
That's
he's
not
averaging 20.7 points per game, 10 rebounds.
This isn't a real lit.
3.7 blocks. So give me Purdue at number 7. Number 6, I got the Creighton Blue Jays. Creighton is playing so good right now.
You didn't do that. You didn't do that.
Beat Iowa.
The University of Omaha up there.
AP poll. Give me Creighton. I mean, Trey Alexander. We've seen him develop through the years. I mean,
where's FAU? Where's FAU?
FAU lost to Bryant.
Yeah, what are you cooking, bro?
Might as well put FAU up there, Max.
Trey Alexander leads Creighton in basically every stat. And then they also return Baylor Shireman and Ryan Kalkbrenner. I mean, as well as Stephen Ashworth, the transfer from Utah State. This Creighton Blue Jays team is really good, and I look forward to seeing them play in Big East play. Give me Creighton at number 6. And now number 5, I got the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee with big win over Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and they also play Syracuse in the coming days. So give me Tennessee at number 5. Dalton Neck, the transfer from Northern Colorado. I mean, really good. This actually isn't a team that they don't return a lot of players. Santiago Vescovi, I mean, they do return him, but he hasn't been playing well early on. He will like to get going in the coming weeks. But give me Tennessee at number 5. And then number 4, I got UConn. UConn, the reigning national champions. They look like they haven't missed a beat. I mean, they beat Indiana today by 20, a game that a lot of people thought might be close as Indiana was undefeated going into the game. Give me
I
UConn.
don't think anybody thought that, but okay.
Okay, buddy. Well, anyways, UConn at number 5. Or
I
excuse
think
me, number
Louisville
4.
versus FAU will be a good game.
I'm gonna go. Donovan Clingan, their center is really good. So give me UConn at number 4. Number 3, I got the team that Reese referenced earlier, Marquette. Marquette is so good this year. I mean, they beat
Well, I picked Percy Julian.
They beat a top 25 Illinois team earlier this week, like Reese said. Cam Jones, Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek might be one of my favorite guards in all of college basketball this year. Looks to be possibly a first-round pick next year. I mean, one of the assist leaders in all of college basketball as well as steals. I mean, he kind of reminds you almost like a white Chris Paul, basically. That's what I compare him to.
I
And
don't
then number
think that's
2,
real.
Number 2, I got Arizona, the Wildcats, who upset Duke. I mean, Caleb Love, although he hasn't even performed great, he gives the energy for the Wildcats. And, I mean, against Duke, well, yeah, he posted on his Instagram, oh, sorry, Duke, even though he scored only 12 points. But give me Caleb Love in this Arizona Wildcats team. Kashad Johnson, the transfer from San Diego State's team last year that made it to the national championship. I mean, their team really good. Umar Ballo, I think is his name. Their center, he's huge. He kind of reminds me of a DeAndre Ayton in college. So give me Arizona at number 2. And then number 1, obviously number 1, the Kansas Jayhawks beat a very good Kentucky team by 5. Hunter Dickinson is the truth. 27 points, 21 rebounds against Kentucky. They return Kevin McCullough, KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris, who's one of my favorite point guards in the league right now in college basketball. 7.3 assists per game. So give me the Kansas Jayhawks. And now I'm looking forward to hear y'all's top 10.
You didn't get Rizzy in that one, buddy.
All right,
buddy.
Max left out some
Nikola
key
Jokic
teams.
at number 10.
All right, listen. So, Max left out some key teams out of that. I will say.
All right.
10.
Let's hear Kentucky in the top 10, even though
Number 10. Number 10, Creighton. The Creighton Blue Jays.
Okay.
They're a great team. You know, they have one player that does everything for them. But they're a good team and will go very far. Number 9, I have a team that I don't know how I really don't know how Max didn't say this team.
Are you going to say Gonzaga?
No, I have the Duke Blue Devils.
Bro, they lost.
They lost one game by 5 points.
And Caleb Love went bye-bye when he scored 12.
Team. Kyle Filipowski, absolute demon at everything. Blocks, steals, points, rebounds. And then Mark Mitchell, Jeremy Roach, Caleb Foster. I mean, I could go on and on about this team. 5-star after 5-star recruit. The Duke Blue Devils are going to come back. And they're going to absolutely dominate.
I'm gonna break my monitor.
They're going to lose to Miami.
Number 8, I have the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears are a very, very deep team. They beat a very good Auburn team, came back from behind to beat that Auburn team, and this Baylor Bears team is looking for revenge after a few years ago when they were number 1 for super long, and then they absolutely choked. Guys, this Baylor team is very good. Jacoby Walter is an absolute demon, averaging 18 points a game. Number 8, Baylor Bears. Number 7, I got Marquette. I have Marquette a little bit lower than Max had them, just because I haven't seen them play a very good team yet. They played Illinois, but that's not a very good team. Let's be honest. Illinois is not that good. Cam Jones, 19.3 points a game. This team, you know, is very deep, has a very big rotation, just like Auburn, and they will go very far. Number 10, 9, 8, 6. I have the Tennessee Volunteers. This Tennessee team is also – I agree with you there, Max. I don't know why I made that noise. I thought you said, like, Tennessee Tech or something. But Tennessee Volunteers, led by Dalton Knecht, 19.7 points a game, and Jonas Adu with 7.3 rebounds. Sorry, I'm a college basketball casual. I can't lie. Number 5, I have the Houston Cougars. You had Houston a little bit low in your ranking. I think Houston deserves to be above the Volunteers of Tennessee. Houston, I actually watched them play against Utah, and I was just very impressed with the speed that this Houston team played with. They beat Dayton today by 14. LJ Cryer, I remember watching him, hearing his name a lot, and Jamal Shed. Absolute insane for the Cougars. And then number 4, I'm going to try to get through these 4 pretty quick. I got Purdue, led by Zach Edey, the absolute demigod,
Eddy.
Yao Ming-esque absolute unit for the Boilermakers. You know, the Boilermakers, never very good at football, but, I mean, they can be a little bit good at basketball. I remember this team when they played Duke a few years ago, and that game ended up being very close, and they actually upset Duke. Zach Edey, 20.7 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. Braden Smith also with 11 points a game and 8 assists. Just feed it Zach Edey. Zach Edey also with 4 blocks a game. So he's going to win Naismith Player of the Year. Number 3, I got the reigning champs in UConn. UConn, great team. I remember last year when they actually played Auburn earlier in the year. I think it was the Maui Invitational. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember the pace that they played with and the 3-point shooting that they had. I mean, they have 5 players over 14 points per game, and they're led by Alex Caravan with 17 points a game. Very experienced team. Kept a lot of starters from last year from the national championship team. But number 2, this is where we disagree here, Max. I got Kansas at number 2. I got the Kansas Jayhawks at number 2, led by the Michigan transfer, Hunter Dickinson. Absolutely insane for the Jayhawks. I remember watching him against Kentucky. I actually picked Kentucky in that game, and he just absolutely dominated a great Kentucky team. 22 points a game, 12 rebounds a game, 1.7 steals per game. And then also, I mean, you got Kevin McCullough Jr. with 16 points a game. So very deep team for the Jayhawks. Lots of talent up there. And then at number 1, I got to be not a little bit biased, but I love this player. When he was at North Carolina, I got to go with the Arizona Wildcats. Absolutely impressing, going into Duke's home court and beating the Blue Devils, which is never done, led by Kashed Johnson with 14 points per game. I mean, they have 6 people that average over 11 points a game. You know, Caleb Love, not the absolute superstar there, just a very deep team, very well balanced, and they're very well coached. And I just think this Arizona team is very, very good.
All right, good top 10. Reese, everybody's waiting for it.
I pick at number 10. I pick Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor. They've been good this year. You know, especially coming back against Auburn late in that game, last 3 minutes of that game. And then number 9, Max. I don't know how you didn't see this one. Duke.
Bro, they lost.
Yeah, how did you not put Duke in your top 10?
It doesn't matter if they lost. They still
They lost to my number 2 team, the Arizona Wildcats. They're not good.
Hey, watch. Just wait. Miami. Wait till they play Miami.
My number 8 is Creighton.
Buddy's just looking at the 8 people.
I know.
That's not the 8 people, buddy. But okay.
What?
My number 7 is Tennessee.
Buddy's looking at the 8 people.
I'm looking at the 8 people right now.
My number 6 is Houston.
It's not the 8 people. Baylor's not 10.
Yes, it is.
It literally is.
No, Baylor isn't. Baylor is 15. But
There's no way. Bro,
Baylor's
what is
15.
going on? Okay. Number 5, Marquette. I know they're number 5 in the 8 people, but
they're
I don't
number
care.
4.
Okay, never mind.
Bruh.
Number 4, UConn. I'm gonna go with UConn at 4. Number 3,
I pick Purdue.
and then number 2. Number 2 is Arizona. I gotta go with Zona at 2. You know, Arizona's just they kind of surprised me. You know, beating Duke at Duke. It surprised a lot of people. Not a lot of people can do that. Go to Duke and beat them, but you know, Arizona, Caleb Love. Shout out to him on Instagram. Scored 12 points. Still wants to talk trash, but you know, that's a whole different story for a different day. And then number 1, gotta be Kansas. Gotta be Kansans after what they did.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Time to change the graphic. I think I'm gonna take FAU at 1. I'm kidding.
All right. Well, now we're gonna move on to Taylor's hottest take.
Yay!
The temperature is rising. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Taylor's hottest take.
Let's go.
Okay, we're back with Taylor's hottest take. Last week, We completely forgot to do it. We completely skipped over it. I realized after the show, and I didn't want to wake back up to do it. But last week, something happened in the SEC. In SEC football, it was the dumbest decision of all time.
Brian Bowe.
Let me just tell y'all the topic summary of what we're talking about.
All right, let's
Deion Sanders, Neon Deion Prime, will be the next coach of the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm sure all of y'all have heard about the news by now about big old Jimbo being fired and one of the worst decisions made by a franchise after a win against Mississippi State. But that's for a different day. We can talk about that all we want a different day. But when coaches get fired, it's a huge speculation on what they're going to do in the future. And I'm here to tell y'all, to make this money up that they owe Jimbo and to be relevant again, the AD of the Aggies will go out and hire Coach Prime. Think about it. You get all of these amazing recruits that Texas A&M has at the number 6, I think it's the number 3 or 4 class. And, excuse me, I lost my place. And so be it. The recruits are disappointed about the firing. But if you bring in Prime, you likely keep those recruits. You get the top 10 class from the Aggies, and then the 63rd best class adding from the Buffaloes. It'll be unstoppable for years to come. And the cash that they'll make hiring Prime with all the publicity and all the swag that Coach Prime makes, it's almost a no-brainer. I know this is pretty hot, because of the debate of Prime coming to the SEC and everything with the Auburn rumors that happened if Auburn was going to hire him. But believe me, I haven't been wrong with my hot take so far this year. And tell me another coach that is a candidate. They were speculating Dan Lanning, the Washington coach. They both said, nah, we're here to stay because we're going to the Big Ten. But I know a lot of the Pac-12 coaches, are the favorites, the smaller coaches of the smaller teams. But to make this money, the $70 million that they owe Jimbo, they need to bring in Coach Prime, and they're going to give that blank national championship certificate that they gave Jimbo when he got hired. They're going to give it to Coach Prime and let him sign it in a few years when they win the shit. I'm a huge believer in Coach Prime coming to the SEC. What are y'all's opinions on this? Max, I know you're foaming at the mouth right now.
So the reason I said wait what is because I thought you were saying that actually happened. So I was confused. But I honestly I think it'll happen? No. But if Texas A&M were to, I also don't think it would be a great hire. Here's why. The only thing that Deion brought to Colorado that it didn't have is publicity. And he brought players. Yes, he brought players. But he didn't bring good coaching. I have realized that throughout the season, and I've said it here on this podcast, is that Deion Sanders isn't a great coach. He is a highly publicized hype man. That's all he is. He's a highly publicized hype man. So, if Texas A&M were to bring him in, here's exactly what would go down. They'd bring him in, all the publicity. Whoa, Coach Prime, get interviews, all that stuff. They'd get some recruits, obviously. Get a couple recruits. Cam Coleman would probably stay, committed to Texas A&M. They'd have a lot of great players. But you know what Texas A&M has had the last couple of years? Great players. They've had the number 1 recruiting class the last couple of years, and mainly because of NIL, all the NIL money they have, and they've done nothing with it. And you know why? Because of bad coaching. That's it. Plain and simple. Bad coaching. So you're going to bring a guy that's basically just a more pimped out.
I think
you're bringing a guy that's just a more pimped out Jimbo Fisher. That's all you're doing. You're getting nothing new. You're going to get the same players that you got. You're going to get the Walter Nolans and, all the Evan Stewarts, all the 5-star recruits, the biggest names out of high school. You're going to still get those. You'll get some transfer portal additions. And, yeah, nothing's going to change. He'll be out of there in 5 years, if he comes, if that. But will I think it will happen? I think there's more likely of a chance that it will happen than it actually working if it happens. So you see what I'm saying? So I think, yeah, there's definitely a possibility because they've shown with Jimbo Fisher, they like those high money hires that can just bring them, great recruits and great transfers and stuff. Do I think it would work for them? Hell no. I think they should bring in. If I had to pick somebody they should bring in Mike Elko. The Duke head coach that was their defensive coordinator before he went to Duke.
Bro, why would they bring in the Duke head coach after the start that Duke got off to and what they're doing now?
Well, Duke got off to a good start, and then Riley Leonard, their star QB, got hurt. So, and they had a decent year last year. So,
But
all I'm gonna say is he would be good. Jeff Traylor, an in-state hire from UTSA, would be good. I mean, those are all actual good coaches. Deion Sanders is just a hype man. So that's all I'm trying to say. Reese, what do you think about it?
I kind of agree with you. You know, Dion ever since he got to Colorado, you know, really they got those three wins to start the season, and ever since then they really haven't been themselves, which they never should have been in the first place. After what we saw in spring with him losing all those recruits and everything, and I think the same thing would happen if he went to A&M. And a lot of people are like, also they say, oh yeah, Dion will get hired at Alabama. No, they won't. No, he won't, because if Nick Saban ever decides to leave, they'll find someone better than Dion to coach Alabama. So if he went to Texas A&M, which he won't, I don't think that he would do too good there.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm trying to say is that you can beat those small teams, the Colorado States, the TCUs and stuff like that, the teams that aren't having a great year with just great players. I mean, obviously, because you're going to have more athleticism than them, which Texas A&M has had, these previous years, and that's why they've been able to beat the small teams. But you're not going to be able to win consistently when you don't have good coaching and a good, regimen that the coach is leading and a good culture. And that's not what Dion brings. Dion's brought a bombastic and almost toxic culture to Colorado. I mean, you saw what Travis Hunter did on the sideline to that Washington State player. You saw the interview where he said, "Oh, I encourage fighting at practice." I mean, Dion or Taylor, you'll keep saying, I'm a Dion fan, which yes, I was. I truly was. I'll admit it. I believed what he was saying. I believed his luggage was Louis, but he has not turned out to be who I thought he was. And yeah. So I don't think it'd be a good hire. Could it happen? Yeah, possibly. But if you're a Texas A&M fan, that's not what you should want.
Well, I feel like this take was pretty hot. It caused a little bit of argument, which, I mean, is what we always want to actually give y'all entertainment. But we're going to move to Reese hosting Prize Picks this week.
Not sponsored by the app Prize Picks. It's time for Max's Prize Picks.
Let's go, guys. We got some good games. College football rivalry week. Last week of the regular season, got two exciting games to highlight for that. Got 2 NFL games, 1 college basketball game to highlight, and an NBA game. But let's get into it.
Go ahead and tell us our records, though.
Last week, kind of surprised. I went 5-1, and I'm 44-40.
But he left the call and decided to go 5-1.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Maybe I should just leave the call again and go 5-1. Maybe 6-0. And then Max went 4-2 last week, and he now leads at 47-37.
Yeah,
Max,
let's go,
bro. I sold to give the people content.
Taylor's moving back again. 2-4. 2-4. Taylor went 2-4, and now he's 46.
He's still beating you, Reese. So he's still beating you.
Okay. Now let's get into it. The first game, I know Taylor's gonna love this game. Oregon and Oregon State. Highly anticipated matchup. It's a good matchup. What do you want me to pick? The Iron Bowl? Because that's gonna be 66-0.
All right, let's pick it.
Yes, this game.
They already know who I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, we're all gonna pick the same person.
I'll go last. Reese, you pick first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking.
Who do you think's gonna win?
I'm picking Oregon, and the reason I picked this game is because it's a very highly ranked matchup. And, Oregon State did lose to Washington last week. Shouldn't have. Should be a 9-2 Oregon State team versus a 10-1 Oregon team right now. But, I'm going to take Oregon. I'm going to take Oregon here. Oregon is a 14.5 point favorite here. And, I just don't see DJU getting it done against Oregon, and especially it's at Oregon. I'm not saying his last name because I have to use Google Translate to do that. Just like you did. But I'm gonna take Oregon. Max, who are you taking?
Oregon next. It's Oregon. Oregon 48 to.
All right, I want to give some reason to this game. The line opened up at 11.5. and now it's 14.5. Friday night prime time at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. I mean, this Oregon fans, I recognized it firsthand while I was in Arizona. These Oregon fans are going to pack out Autzen Stadium. They're going to cheer for the Ducks, and the Ducks are going to get a home win against their Civil War rival, the Beavers from Corvallis. Go Bo and go Ducks.
Yeah, and then our next game is gonna. Yeah, you have to pick this game. You have to pick Michigan and Ohio State. It's like you
Yeah,
can't,
no,
can't
100%.
can't go over this game. It's gonna be a great game, especially with all this news with Jim Harbaugh, all that stuff coming out about him, and Ohio State's on a roll as well, even though they played barely anybody. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm gonna pick Michigan, but the line is Michigan -4. So, they're thinking it's gonna be close, which it obviously is. It's a rivalry game. Michigan's won the last two matchups. I say they win this third one in Ann Arbor, and then I say they win the Big Ten championship.
What are you talking about?
Wait, you're gonna pick Ohio State, aren't you? All right, Max, what do you think?
So this is going to be a great matchup, like Reese said. I mean, obviously the biggest matchup, I say, of the year so far. I mean, this really is a game that specifically, has implications with the college football playoff and the postseason, And I honestly think if the dices fall right and, everything falls into place the correct way, I mean, both of these teams could possibly make it into the CFP.
No.
This is a close game, as some people expect it to be. But give me Ohio State on the road. Give me Marvin Harrison Jr., Travion Henderson, and Kyle McCord. And also, this Michigan team, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but since Jim Harbaugh has gotten suspended, they haven't looked the same. Like, they beat Maryland by 7 last week. I mean, they didn't look great, and J.J. McCarthy just looks out of it. I'm not going to lie. Like, J.J. McCarthy, obviously they're going with a more run-based approach. You see they didn't even throw the ball once against Penn State 2 weeks ago in the second half. So, but you look at the stats, I mean, Kyle McCord is outplaying J.J. McCarthy right now. I mean, Kyle McCord has 22 touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy has 18. Kyle McCord has 2,800 yards. J.J. McCarthy has 2,300, and they both have 4 interceptions. So give me Ohio State to win this one on the road in the big house. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be as close of a game as they think. I think Ohio State remembers that loss last year whenever Michigan came to the shoe and absolutely whooped the Buckeyes. So give me Ohio State to win this one 34-23. I think it's kind of close going in the fourth quarter. Ohio State maybe leads it by like 3 or it's tied, but then Ohio State pulls away at the end. Give me the Buckeyes on the road.
This is must-watch football right here. I hate Michigan. I hate Jim Harbaugh. Go Buckeyes. Go Brutus. Kyle McCord is going to ball out. Marvin Harrison is going to ball out. This defense for Ohio State is better than the Michigan defense, only allowing 3, 16, 10, and 12 in their past 5 games. Give me the Buckeyes winning this game by 17. Give me the final score being 38 to 21. Sorry, I had to do math.
Now we're going to get into our 2 NFL games that we have coming up. One is a Thanksgiving game. It's the 7:20 Thanksgiving game, divisional game between the Seahawks and 49ers. This should be a good one. Always is. Always love watching these two teams go against each other. And, the line is, I think the line's pretty close here for this game because, Seahawks did pretty good today, even though they lost to the Rams. I still think they did pretty good. And yeah, the line for this game is 49ers 7. 49ers are favored by 7. It's in Seattle, so could be a good game. But I'm going to go with the 49ers here. The defense just, they're going to keep it up like they always do. Christian McCaffrey, I say, gets 2 or 3 touchdowns. And 49ers end up winning on Thanksgiving night against the Seahawks.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a game where, yes, I mean, on paper it looks like, it's a divisional game. It's in Lumen Field. This is a game that should be a great watch. And on Thanksgiving, and honestly, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, 7:20 primetime NBC. I
Don't
mean,
do it.
should be an exciting game.
Don't
But
do it.
you look at this Seahawks. I mean, what happened to them today? Geno Smith went down, might not play next week. Kenneth Walker went down, might not play next week. I mean, this Seahawks team is facing a lot of injuries right now. I mean, and I'm going to have to go with the 49ers, and I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, right now, ESPN has them projected to win by 7, and they're, according to ESPN Analytics, they're favored 72.1% chance to win this game. So give me the 49ers winning this one on the road. Give me them. I'm going to go similar to Taylor's Ohio State Michigan pick. I'm going to go 34-17.
Okay.
49ers next game.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geno Smith is not it. Brock Purdy is it. Give me the 49ers.
True luck. Yeah. I'm kidding. Now we're going to the last NFL game, the Jaguars and Texans. This is a better.
I'm excited for this one.
Yes, this one's a good game.
Did bro just lag?
The line is 1 favoring Jacksonville here. It's at the Texans, and I'm sorry, Jacksonville. I'm gonna have to go with the young Texans team. Texas has showed us what they're made of these past few games, and they're gonna continue rolling past y'all, and they're gonna roll into the division lead for the first time this season. I got Houston winning by a touchdown.
There you go. Good pick. Good pick. I'm going with the Texans here to win in NRG over Jacksonville on Saturday. I mean, or excuse me, is it on Saturday or Sunday?
It's on Sunday.
Okay, yeah.
They only have a game on Friday.
Okay, yeah. Thanksgiving week's always weird to me. But give me the Texans at home. CJ Stroud is absolutely balling out. Today he didn't really. I mean, he had 3 interceptions, but you look at his first half numbers, he had 256 yards in just the first half. I remember seeing a post. He had more first half yards than any other team, in the first half earlier today. So give me CJ Stroud and the Texans and Devin Singletary, who for some reason I traded to Taylor, who's really popped off recently. That wide receiver core with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Noah Brown, who didn't play today, but he should be returning next week. So give me the Texans to win at home. I'm going to say 31-23.
I'm going to have to disagree with both of y'all here. I love the way this Jaguars team plays. Hard-nosed, physical football led by Travis Etienne. Then, every now they have a lot of motions, a lot of RPOs for Trevor Lawrence to make some decisions. And today, Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good against the Titans. That's all I'm going to say. This Jaguars team is on a roll after that blowout loss against the 49ers. Give me the Jaguars beating the Texans because CJ Stroud is a fraud.
Wow.
Dang.
Hey, he'll show you. We'll see. We'll see.
Now, moving away from the NFL side, we're going to do one college basketball game this week. This should be a good one. It's the Maui Invitational. Not this year, sadly. It's going to be in Honolulu. They're moving it because of the wildfires that happened this summer. But it is Purdue versus Gonzaga. This is probably one of the best games in the Maui tournament. A lot of good teams in the Maui tournament. Always love Thanksgiving week. As it's known in college basketball, it's called Feast Week for college basketball on ESPN. Always love watching these games. All the tournaments going on at this time of the year. But I'm going to get into it. I'm going to have to take the Boilermakers here. The Boilermakers are favored by 4.5 in Honolulu. And, Gonzaga does have a pretty decent team. But I just got to take Zach Edey's team. Zach Edey's an amazing player. And I see Purdue winning this one by about 10.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Purdue in this one as well. I mean, the big difference is Purdue's a team that returned a lot of players, mainly their big man, and Gonzaga's a team that didn't return a lot of players, and they didn't return their big man, Drew Timme. So yeah. I'm gonna go with Purdue to win this one in Honolulu to beat the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Give me them. I'm gonna say what did you say for your score prediction?
Mine was just I said it was gonna be 10. They were gonna lose by 10 points. So
Okay, so
Gonzaga was going to
give
lose by
me
10
give
points.
me Purdue. I think a lot of points are scored. Actually, these are two teams that can really put up some numbers. So I'm gonna go Purdue winning this one, 86-80.
Good prediction.
I'm going to have to disagree with both of y'all here again. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Gonzaga. They have 5 different people scoring over 11 points. They have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 10 people that play in a normal rotation, led by Braden Huff with 21 points a game, only on 17 minutes. I mean, this Gonzaga team loves to play fast, loves to get out in space, and against this sluggish and slow Purdue team, the Gonzaga Bulldogs will pull up one of the biggest upsets of the college basketball season. Give me the Bulldogs 90-84.
That was a good pick there, actually. That's Gonzaga. Gonzaga. Yeah, this should be a close game in Honolulu. Can't wait to see this tournament unfold. A lot of good teams like Kansas, Marquette's in there, UCLA's in there. So should be a good tournament this year, like usual. Now we're gonna get to our last game of Prize Picks. This is gonna be an NBA game on Wednesday. This is the Celtics versus the Bucks. Should be a very good matchup. The line for this game, there actually is no line for this
Yeah,
game.
there's usually not lines for NBA games. It's weird.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. I thought they
When is
usually
this
had
game?
some. What?
When is this game?
Wednesday.
6:30 p.m. tip on ESPN.
6:30 Wednesday. Yeah.
I didn't ask what time and channel it was. I asked what day it was.
Okay, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Someone's a little mad.
Yes.
Go to bed.
Someone's sleepy.
Yep. Anyway, I'm gonna go with the Celtics in this matchup.
Max is getting rizzy.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Celtics.
Don't let me rizz you up.
Okay, buddy. I'm gonna go with the Celtics here. I'm gonna say Celtics win this one 110-99 at home and continue their hot start to this NBA season.
So I'm actually gonna disagree with you here, Reese. I'm gonna say the Bucks take this one on the road. The Celtics, yes, they are the best team, and they have looked like it this year. But I'm gonna say that the Bucks go on the road and win this one. I mean, Giannis and Dame, they're starting to heat up right now. I mean, early on in the season, they weren't really gelling, which obviously, me and Taylor talked about it last week a little bit. These kind of superstar duos or trios, they take time to kind of gel, and to actually work. And so the Bucks record's kind of misleading. Those early games, I mean, they weren't really, you watch the tape and you can see that they weren't really as, fluid as they are right now. But Giannis is still averaging 29.3 points per game and 9.9 rebounds per game. So give me the Bucks and the dynamic freak time duo in Dame Dalla and Giannis, the Greek freak Antetokounmpo. So give me the Bucks. I'm going to say they win this game. I'm going to say 117-111.
I think Max is absolutely bonkers for that pick. The Bucks cannot play away games, but I will say the Bucks are coming off of a great win yesterday against the Mavericks. But this Celtics team have beaten the Raptors, the 76ers, and the Knicks all in a row, and by a pretty big margin too, except for that 3-point victory against the Raptors. This Celtics team is hot, led by none other than, of course, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, I think, is the front runner for. I know it's really early, really early, but I think he's the front runner for NBA MVP right now. Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, great role players all around. Peyton Pritchard, Oregon alum, love you, Peyton. Got to see you play in Oregon, but this Celtics team is gonna demolish the Bucks, 120-90.
Well, that's gonna do it for Prize Picks.
Now, Taylor, you want to go ahead and end it off?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, that's gonna do it for the Tigers Den episode 11. We love making these episodes for y'all weekly, and just a reminder that Josh Dobbs is my front runner for MVP, and Cam Newton is the greatest NFL player of all time. So that's gonna do it for
Ain't no
the
way.
Tigers Den episode 11. Come back next week for episode 12, as we'll dive more into basketball season. As the football season, coming to an end with Rivalry Week coming up, we'll recap those games. We'll recap Auburn getting blown out by Alabama. We'll recap the Oregon Ducks winning by absolute bunches. And we'll recap the Saints absolutely sucking.
And we'll watch
Hey.
Max get Rizzy.
All right.
All right, bye, listeners. Love y'all.
All right. Bye, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition of the Tigers Den podcast. New episodes dropping every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central. Also be sure to check out our other podcast, Play Callers, where we interview a coach from Auburn High School football. Be sure to check out those episodes dropping every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Central on all platforms.